Well, they asked me why the US education is so important for Turkish students. Is of course, first and foremost, it is English, because when you go to the US, you're exposed to English so much that such an environment you cannot find in Turkey. And in learning a foreign language, it is absolutely necessary to be exposed into the foreign language. So the foreign language that you're trying to learn. So in the US, everything is in English. You go there in the morning, you wake up in the morning, you go all the way to your classes, go through the day in English. So it really increases the level of sophistication of your English, and the word literature is in English, so it's very important to succeed in life, in your professional life. Another one is, of course, that the education there is applied. In other words, lots of case analyses, students provide their comments about the issues that they are studying. They are not necessarily memorizing things and then theories and all, and then write them in the tests. I personally experienced a lot of these things when I was doing my MBA and my PhD. It's not that you don't learn the theory. The only thing is you learn the theory, but then you go on to the application side of it. You apply that theory into real world events, you discuss things. This is very, very important. Another one is, of course, the US education in most cases makes internships part of the education. In other words, every summer students try to work somewhere, try to improve their business experience given what they have learned at school, be it high school, be it college degree. There were a lot of terms that when I was studying in the United States, I came across with like co-ops or something. They were all related to working along with studying. So that's very, very important, because in Turkey it is not still, the Turkish education is not still at that particular stage. Another one I can talk about is, of course, flexibility, because when you go to the US, you have the opportunity to choose areas, subjects that you can really, you really want to study. You really want to, I'm not very, very sure about that, but as far as I know, you can go into the freshman year and then you still have the option in the sophomore, even in junior years, the transfer between the departments are relatively easier. So flexibility is there. The education system offers the student to excel in the part of profession that, in the type of profession that they would like to be at. And independence, of course, is another important thing in the US, in the sense that you can easily follow your ideology, or discuss the views, the world views you have, and that gives you that independent thinking, independent discussions. It's not in every country, especially if they're not democratic enough. Of course, that the democratic part is it reflects itself in the education, and well, maybe participation dominated education. Class discussions are very, very important. In Turkey, in many cases, the professor comes into the class or teacher comes to the class, gives the course, gives the lesson, and then leaves. And students are not necessarily they don't necessarily participate. They rather listen, they rather note things, and then go home and then come back and give it back in the test. But in the US, most of the class that I was taking were like participation class. In other words, you keep discussing things, issues, theories, and it is not looked bad if you're going against a certain theory that everybody accepts, but you can do that. And extracurricular activities, social part of life. You can do sports, you can do drama, you can do music, you can do a lot of fine arts together with yourself. You're not only studying things, you're not only a nerd, you're not only a geek, and things are not based on that. Things are not based on achieving a certain standardized test in the future, So this education is trying to make you a full-fledged person who is who's good at art, who's good at sports, and offers those opportunities, of course, to you. In Turkey, still facility, for example, problem. In other words, you go to a college, you hardly have an indoor sports facility, or a swimming pool, this and that. So it's still Turkey has taken a lot of steps in that direction, but still the U.S. of course is a huge ban. I saved the last for the end of my answer. That's what I benefited most from being in the U.S. Being away from the family. In other words, if you're away from the family that you're raised in, and you don't have to discuss your things, everyday life with the mother and father, you start making your own decisions. You start disciplining yourself, and that makes you a completely grown-up person who is deciding about his or her own fate. That was a very, very important thing for me. In other words, I benefited from being in the United States, mostly being away from my family. Not that they were a bad family, that's just being away from my family helped me to make my own decisions and suffer the consequences because parents were not there to tidy up, to support you in case you give a bad decision, so you learn to live with that. So these are basically the reasons for me to study in the United States and to recommend our students to go and seek education in the US.